What's Alonzo Ball in New Orleans? Ball's been linked to a team like Chicago. Does the Pelicans now make it a priority to bring him back? But all the teams that have cap space, when you look at New York, when you look at Dallas, when you look at potentially New Orleans, they are all linked to Larry, and his decision kind of will set up a little bit of a domino effect in free agency.
Which under-the-radar free agent are you paying close attention to?
It's DeMar DeRozan.
Okay.
31 years old, prime of his career, 8 years in a row of 20-plus points per game. Nobody is talking about DeMar DeRozan right now, and he's another player that's kind of linked to the Larry decision. If Larry doesn't go to a team like Dallas, does Dallas now become in play? They just opened up some cap space when they traded Josh Richardson to Dallas. Potentially a team like New York that has money to go out and spend, but and also maybe San Antonio where he played last year. Highly unlikely he goes back home to those two LA teams that have been linked to them. They only have the $5.9 million tax mid-level. Highly unlikely he takes a major league pay cut to go win a championship this year.
Interesting how Lowry and DeRozan still linked, still there together. Bobby Marks, we appreciate you. And nice jacket, by the way.
We didn't plan it.
No, we didn't, but we look good in it.
So none better than ESPN NBA front office insider Bobby Marks to break it down now, joining us this morning on SportsCenter. Bobby, good morning. How do the Lakers now fill out the rest of that roster?
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do in Los Angeles as far as this offseason, and as you saw with that chart, $130 million tied up with five players, $6 million below the luxury tax. But the Lakers do have free agents, Talon Horton-Tucker. They have Alex Caruso they can bring back. They've got bird rights on both players. Keep an eye on what happens to Dennis Schroeder, potentially to use in a signing trade to bring back players. But there is still a lot of work to be done as far as filling out all those holes for the Lakers this offseason.
So Westbrook will be the third former MVP to start 4 straight seasons with a different team, going now home back to LA. Westbrook leaving the Wizards after just 1 season. How does this deal impact Bradley Beal's future in the district?
Yeah, I actually like what Washington did on Thursday night. I actually considered them one of the big winners here when they took the Westbrook contract and they broke it up into Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Kyle Kuzma. Players like that. And I think what's going to happen now is that GM Tommy Shepard, he's going to have to sell the future to Bradley Beal. He is going to have to show him how this roster is going to look potentially in 2022, which is next year, when they could have $25 to $30 million in cap space. And you're almost going to have to treat Beal like a free agent. You are going to have to recruit him. He's extension eligible starting on October 1st. And you are going to have to show him what this roster is going to look like, not just now, but also in the future.
Beal entering the last year of that contract, like you mentioned, poised to be a free agent next offseason. Bobby Marks joining us this morning on SportsCenter.
Senator Perk, you played with a pretty good Big Three back in the day in Boston. What are your expectations for this new Big Three in Los Angeles next season?
Well, Jay, first of all, look, they're not called the Los Angeles Lakers right now. They're called the Los Angeles Jeffersons. You know why? Because they're moving on up. And look, having this Big Three right here has put the world, the NBA, on notice. For the simple fact, you have 2 of the most polarizing figures to ever play the game of basketball, and Russell Westbrook and LeBron James on the same team. I don't care about shooting. Tell me how you're going to stop these two from getting downhill. And then you add a generational talent in Anthony Davis when he's healthy, arguably the best big man in the game today. Russell Westbrook has never got the opportunity to play with a big like Anthony Davis. You put those 2 guys in a pick and roll, you got to pick your poison. LeBron James' IQ is so high and through the roof that he's going to find a way to make it work. By the way, they got a great coaching staff over there in Frank Vogel that's great defensively. They also have one of the best player development coaches in the game today in Phil Handy. And then they just added Coach Fizdale, right, who's very familiar with LeBron James and Dwayne Wade when they was down there in Miami, when they were playing alongside one another and they were cutting and slashing to the basket. So I'm looking at this Lakers team and what they did acquiring Russell Westbrook, and people better watch the hell out.
Okay. Jefferson's went to the east side, Lakers on the west side, but that's cool. LA currently with the second shortest odds.
That includes Kyle Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
What is the impact of the Russ trade to the Lakers?
They have a legitimate answer to the Nets right now. Like, sometimes it's this easy. They had 2 of them dudes. The Nets had 3. The Nets had the only real big 3. The Suns look like they might for a sec. The Nets have 3 future Hall of Famers, 3 guys who could score from anywhere. The most skilled at their size you could ever ask. History of basketball. Who's at their size more skilled than any one of those 3 guys? The Lakers had no shot. If everyone was healthy this year, it would have been Nets and Lakers. The Lakers would have been thrashed by these Nets. Now they got 3 dudes. Russell Westbrook's one of them dudes. And let me say something. People are going to get caught up on how it all fits together. That is not the issue here. The issue is bring in the talent. Do they need shooting? Yes. None of these guys are shooters, especially not Westbrook for his position. But can you find shooters? You think guys won't play on the vet minimum for this team? Of course they will. Whether they wind up with Kevin Love or they figure out a sign and trade with 3-team deal, they still have Schroeder, Talen Horton-Tucker. Those guys aren't great fits. Could they still swing something for Buddy Hield? Who knows? They'll be just fine. And one more thing about Russell Westbrook. Every single year, 3-4 years now, he's on a new team with new teammates. First half of the season, we're all like, Westbrook's finished. He's no good anymore. Because he's trying to figure things out because contrary to popular belief among some, he is a team player. He's trying to figure out how to help the team. Second half, he's figured it out. He's learned his teammates. He knows his role. And then in the second half of every year, we go, he's having an MVP caliber second half. I expect the same thing to happen this year. Stephen A., if the Lakers are healthy, this is a real series if the Nets are healthy. It wouldn't have been before. It is now.
Well, that's really stepping out on the limb. It's a real series. Really? That's all you got? Because let me tell you something. That's obvious, Max Kellerman. There's no question that it's going to be a series if they were to meet. There's no question that it's a formidable big 3, and the Lakers deserve a boatload of credit. Rob Pelinka, way to go in terms of assembling this and pulling this trade off, which obviously has happened. And I think Russell Westbrook is worth it. We all know he's a superstar. We all know he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. We know at the age of 32 going on 33, he's still electrifying. He's still the most athletic point guard in the history of the National Basketball Association. And the fact that you got him with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Lord have mercy. It almost makes it to a point where it might be, we might all need to be medicated for depression if we don't get this finals. Brooklyn versus Los Angeles next season.
I think it's going to happen.
If you
I really do. I really do. This year was odd.
But even injuries would disappoint it because we're all salivating for it now more than ever. Okay. But this has to be said, and I got to be, let me make sure I'm very careful because I suspect the Westbrook family might be watching. Let me make sure I'm very clear with what I'm trying to say. There will never, or there has never, or there will never have been more pressure on Russell Westbrook for this upcoming season. This is the most pressure that he has been through in his career. Now, to be fair to him, he doesn't give a damn. Russell Westbrook don't care about much. He a rough rider. He's pig-headed. He's strong-willed. Whatever word, phrase you want to think is appropriate. He don't give a damn. But from the outside world looking at him, more than ever before, his resume is going to come into play. The triple-doubles. Remember when I was controversial, Max and Molly, because I was talking about I didn't care about a 35, 21, and 14 performance. People misconstrued. I'm hating on Westbrook. No, I'm saying that Russell Westbrook is so phenomenal. Russell Westbrook is such a talent that we don't want to see you going home in the first round. We know you could do that. The point is we already done. Think about it, Max. When did we ever think we'd get to a point where the triple-double didn't matter to us? It doesn't when it comes to him because it's ordinary. It's what he does. He's a walking triple-double. We got that part, okay? Now it's about my brother, Kevin Durant left, and 4 times in 5 years you went home in the first round. 5 times you've been home. Once you went to Houston and you lost in the second round your lone year there. These are your teammates. I'm going to remind everybody again. Kevin Durant, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, Victor Oladipo, Paul George, James Harden again, Bradley Beal, and now LeBron James. And that talent that is Russell Westbrook, surefire, first ballot, undeniable Hall of Famer. By the way, box office, you walk through the turnstiles to see a brother like that.
Yeah.
You walk through the turnstiles to see a Russell Westbrook.
Everything he has every night.
Look, Russell Westbrook's got over $200 million and nobody blinked because we know he deserves it. We know he deserves it because he gives it to you every day. He never cheats the game with his effort. But at some point in time, we're going to be like, where's the chip? And this is where it gets real dicey for him. Because you were with Kevin Durant and you were taking shots people felt Kevin Durant should have been taking. Then you had your time and you became Mr. Triple-Double. Then you had Harden, who's your boy. And Harden and you ended up not wanting to play together. You go with Bradley Beal, who's one of the league top 2 leading scorers in the league, him and Steph Curry last season, okay? And you with Bradley Beal. Of course, you got to the first round, but at the time that, everybody was upset with what I said, they were 13 games under 500 in the Eastern Conference. So now you've overcome, now all of that's aside. You wanted out of D.C., they gave it to you, and they put you in your hometown. This is a UCLA product. This is L.A., this is an L.A. dude. Any kind of hype, any kind of energy, any kind of fervor that we have seen from Russell Westbrook is expected to elevate even more significantly. So when you look at all of those things and the fact that if LeBron James alone was your teammate, they would have expectations. But now you got LeBron and Anthony Davis. There has never been, ever in the career of Russell Westbrook where the eye of the storm will be on him, because we're all going to be looking to see how he messes, how he ingratiates himself within their system, playing with LeBron and AD. And I believe they go into the finals. I believe that if they were healthy anyway, but I certainly believe it now. But right now, you're going to have people looking at the Lakers, and they're going to look at him.
They might win the finals, too. I mean, the Nets are better. The Nets are better scorers, better pure scorers, all three of those dudes. But the Lakers are better defenders. Mm-hmm. And the thing about Westbrook is, of all those teams you just mentioned, he was only on one. Mm-hmm. Stephen A. on one that had a chance to win a championship. That was the 2016 version where the Cavs beat the Warriors and the Thunder almost did. That Thunder team probably should have won the title. They should have beaten the Warriors and the Cavs that year. They didn't, and partly that's Westbrook's fault. That's the 1 year. Otherwise, he's never been on a team that was better than all the other teams. He is now. He's on a team now. So your point about pressure is right for Westbrook this season. But who's under the most pressure on that team, as usual? LeBron James. He is chasing Michael Jordan. He has made no secret of it. Chasing Jordan. Mm-hmm. He is getting up there.
Got to catch Kobe first.
He's
Need one more to catch Kobe.
Yes, but the consensus is LeBron is ahead of Kobe on the all-time list. Okay. He's never going to get ahead of.
We agree with that.
Right. He's never going to get ahead of Jordan on the all-time list if he doesn't have more championships. He's chasing the GOAT, right? As Kobe did. And almost got there. LeBron almost got there.
Well,
Stephen A., he has Westbrook. He has AD. Mm-hmm. LeBron has the gravitas to make Westbrook come into the fold. Mm-hmm. Of course, the pressure's on LeBron.
Listen. It's not a negative thing. It comes with the territory, and it's a compliment to them that we're saying the pressure's on them, because there would be no pressure on them if there wasn't a strong belief that they could get it done. So let's be very clear about that. But the biggest thing that I want to say is this, Max, why I respectfully disagree, is LeBron James has a championship already in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform. Now, he might be chasing Jordan, and there might be some individual pressure that he's applying to himself and the haters out there that want to give it to Jordan or whatever, even though I'm a Jordan guy, you're a Jordan guy, and I don't consider us haters. I mean, God forbid I say LeBron's number 2 all time. Stop the presses. What an incredible insult in the history of basketball.
Graphic.
There's only one player that I have better than him. I mean, my God, just stop the presses. But the point is this. LeBron already has a chip in an LA uniform. Mm-hmm. And we expected him to be back this year if it were not for the injuries. If Russell Westbrook comes there and they're healthy and they don't find a way to get it done, I mean, listen, you're gonna recognize Russell Westbrook's individual greatness, but there's gonna be a lot of questions about team. Remember, he wants to play in Houston. He wanted to play his way. He told Houston that. I want to play.
It worked when they did.
Would you guys take the Lakers right now?
I'm talking about to depart Houston. He was telling them, I want to play my way. I don't want to play Harden's way. I don't want to be his sidekick. I want to do what I do. When he arrived in Houston and Mike D'Antoni was coaching, I'm just going to do what I do. Russell Westbrook is known as a guy who says, I'm going to do it my way.
Two things. One, LeBron is the one player in the league who might have the gravitas to bring Russell Westbrook, the gravity to bring Russell Westbrook into the fold. That wasn't KD. They were contemporaries, and Westbrook had a very strong personality. And at times you could squint and who's better. That's LeBron is he's the guy challenging Jordan. But there's a guy challenging LeBron right now, which puts extra emphasis on what's going on, and that's KD.
Right.
Yeah.
KD is crewed up. KD's never won. KD's never won a title when he hasn't had basically an unfair advantage.
Right.
It looks like he has one again. Now LeBron has just enough where we can look at both of these guys and say, no excuses. Whose league is it?
That's a fair argument about LeBron, Max, if we're talking about the finals has arrived and now it's Brooklyn versus LA. I'm saying before you get to that, just coming into the season, there is no question that there is more pressure on Russell Westbrook than it is on LeBron James. That's how I view it. That's how I view it.
Westbrook, a lot of times in the first half, because he has a certain way of playing, it takes the team and him time to get used to each other. But the second half, Westbrook's always balling. Think about Houston. Think about Washington.
Nobody said
always second half. Oh my God, look at this guy.
Nobody said he isn't balling. What we're talking about are final results. When you are the point guard, you're not just responsible for how you play. You're responsible for how the team plays. Now, if you're a scorer, you're a big man, something like that, it's on you. But when you're the point guard.
Okay, hold on. Final results. So right now, who would you be taking? Are you taking the Nets or the Lakers?
Nets at this moment.
I would take the Nets.
But I don't think the Lakers are done. I think there are veterans, like let's keep an eye on Kevin Love. Let's keep an eye on Buddy Hield. Let's keep an eye on shooters and vets who might take the minimum, not that those guys would, who want to join a team like that.
Max is right.
You know, they have to play with shooters.
Max is
You're
right.
You're both taking the Nets, even with Russell Westbrook.
Here's a more direct statement. With Russell Westbrook, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, the Lakers' total squad, as presently constructed, would not beat a healthy Brooklyn Nets.
Probably not. Not at the moment. But I don't think they're done. I don't think they're done. The Nets just added 5 draft picks. Give the Lakers a minute to see what they do.
Again, of course, that's a given. But like I've religiously stated on this show, Kyrie shot 92% from the free throw line last year. James Harden shot 86%. Kevin Durant was around 87, 88%. Religiously, they're 85 or better. LeBron James shot 69% from the free throw line last season and has been struggling the last 3 years from the free throw line. And over the last 2 years, specifically this past season, Russell Westbrook shot 65% from the free throw line. Playoff basketball, the game slows, okay? The open court opportunities aren't there the way they are during the regular season. And when you get into a half-court set, which LeBron is an absolute master at, but then you go to the free throw line, let me assure you, there is no way in hell the Lakers will shoot better from the free throw line than the Brooklyn Nets.
The difference is this.
And that matters. Even though the Lakers might get to the line more because they're bigger and they'll attack the basket more.
The difference is this. The Lakers have, of the big three, the Lakers have better raw athletes, size, strength. The Nets have more skilled players scoring the ball. At his size, Kyrie Irving scoring the ball, you can argue, is the best who ever did it. Same thing with Harden, same thing with KD. So you have 3 of the GOATs scoring the basketball at their size, history of the game. That is tough to beat. The Lakers' athletic ability, size, defense, and kind of basketball IQ, all that stuff that they have probably isn't enough if they're both healthy. But no other team is going to stand in those teams' way. That series is going games, and I need to see what else the Lakers do. Because, Stephen A., if they plug in 2 knockdown shooters on this team to go with those 3, who knows?
One more thing before we move on. How much more longevity does this give LeBron James when we're talking about time to win championships?
Well, I'm not thinking about it from that standpoint, Molly. I'm thinking that both teams, Brooklyn and L.A., have 2 years. Now, don't mind you, all three.
Why Brooklyn?
All three. Well, I'm just saying 2 years to show what they're going to do.
Oh,
In other
got
words,
it. I thought you meant championship
I
window.
think the league is on the come up, and I think that if you don't win a title within the next 2 years, you ain't going to do it. As presently constructed.
There's one more team.
That's how I view both teams.
Okay.
Both teams.
There's one more team that we have to keep our eye on who could throw a monkey wrench, and that's the Warriors, because they have Clay coming back with Steph, they have Dre, and they have so much other stuff. Like they've been shopping it, they've been trying to do something, haven't been able to do it. But Wiseman, Wiggins, multiple lottery picks that they wound up using. Poole, they have a lot of stuff, so we got to keep our eye on them. But barring some big move by the Warriors, it's just the Lakers.
I don't know how many times I've had to say on this show, I mean, you ain't going to find a bigger Klay Thompson fan than me. And if Klay Thompson is healthy and Steph Curry is healthy, the Warriors are going to the conference finals.
Conference finals, but it ends there if they don't make a move.
A minimum. That's how I view the Golden State Warriors. That's how significant I think Klay Thompson, a healthy Klay Thompson, is to that squad. Klay Thompson with Steph Curry, they're going to stand in somebody's way. And with the Clippers, remember the Clippers gave the Brooklyn Nets a run for their money, even though it was regular season games. You know why? Because, again, you got cats that could score like Kawhi and Paul George, but they make free throws. The Lakers with Russell Westbrook and LeBron James, even though, again, I've seen LeBron James make clutch free throws, okay? And I've seen Russell Westbrook make clutch free throws. But when you're in the 60 percentile going up against cats like Brooklyn or before that Golden State, because we all know Steph Curry and Klay Thompson ain't missing those free throws. We all know that.
It's a different style of team. But if Steph and Klay, when they were in their primes, before injuries or anything like that,